Chapter 10. The Respiratory System. Respiratory system consists of an upper part that including nose and pharynx, and the lower part that starts with the larynx, trachea, bronchial tree, and lungs. Nose and pharynx transmit their air from the outer environment till it reaches the larynx. It transmits the air moist, warm, free of any foreign substance. This is the main characters of the air that's supposed to reach the trachea. The larynx consists of three cartilaginous rings. The upper part that is called the thyroid cartilage, which is under the influence of androgen hormone and may be enlarged, making Adam apple in males at the time of puberty. Below the thyroid cartilage, there is a cartilage called cricoid cartilage, and the third one is called the epiglottis. It's like a tongue that's open and closed and controlling the movement of air through the trachea. So during swallowing, the epiglottis closes the larynx, and during inhalation and breathing, the epiglottis is open to allow air to go through the larynx. Through the laryngeal wall, there is a cord that is called vocal cords. It's like a guitar chords. Vibration of these cords leads to sound production. Trachea. This is the main airway pipe. Transmit the air from the larynx till it reaches the lung. The tracheal wall consists of C-shaped cartilaginous ring that is patent all the time and closed posteriorly by smooth muscle fibers. The lining of the trachea containing mucus cells that to stick any foreign substance that it may enter the trachea. The cells lining the trachea consist of ciliated epithelial cells, movement of the cilia in the direction away from the lung. So if it happens that any foreign substance getting into the trachea, it will be swept out from the lung, trying to protect the air that reaching the alveoli. The trachea ends by bifurcation into right and left bronchi, each bronchi supplying one lung. The bronchi divide into smaller bronchioles, secondary bronchioles, tertiary bronchioles, and that is called the bronchial tree, and end with respiratory bronchioles close to the alveolar sac within the lung tissue. There are two lungs in the thoracic cavity, and these lungs are covered by pleural membranes, and each lung is divided into lobes. There are three lobes on the right side, upper, middle, and lower lobes of the right lungs, and two lobes on the left side, upper and lower lobes, to accommodate the presence of the heart that is always leaned toward the left side of the lung. The main tissue of the lung consists of a small sacs, that is air-filled sacs, that is called alveoli. The outer surface of the alveoli, there is capillaries, blood vessels, that is called the pulmonary capillaries. Through the wall of the alveolar sac, gas exchange happens between the air that is filled into the alveolar wall, the alveolar sacs, and the blood that's running into the capillaries and the pulmonary capillaries. The main purpose for the transmission of air through the airway passage is to get the air free of any foreign substance. And this happens through three natural defense mechanisms. First, that is the mucus gland that is found in the nose and through the tracheal wall to stick any foreign substance. Second, this is the ciliary cells that is found in the tracheal cells, tracheal lining, trying to sweep any foreign substance away from the lung. And the third natural mechanism, this is contraction of the smooth muscle cells in the posterior aspect of the trachea. When this smooth muscles getting contract, narrowing the tracheal wall and trying to expel any foreign substance away from the lung, and that is called the cough reflex. The process of respiration. This consists of a breathing or ventilation or the movement of air in and out of the lungs, and another part that is called gas exchange. And gas exchange happen in different places all over the body. There is gas exchange between the air and the blood, and this happen at the lung tissue, at the alveolar sac. And that is called external respiration. There is gas exchange between the blood and the tissues at the tissue sites, and that is called the internal respiration. And the third type of respiration that is called the cellular respiration that happen within the cell itself, whereas the cells utilize oxygen to produce energy and ATP and producing carbon dioxide as a waste product. The process of breathing, which is the movement of air in and out of the lung, consists of two parts. Inspiration, movement of the air into the lung, and expiration, movement of the air out of the lung. And this movement of air in and out is controlled by the muscles, intercostal muscles that's lining the thoracic cage and the diaphragm. Inhalation happens when the diaphragm getting contract, it became flattened, increase the longitudinal axis of the thorax, as well as the intercostal muscles getting contracting, pulling the thoracic ribs out and up, and this movement increasing the transverse diameter of the thoracic cage. And the result is the volume of the chest will getting expanded and increased, allowing the pressure in the lung to be low, and this suck air inside the air pipes and allowing the process of inspiration or inhalation. This process is stimulated when the carbon dioxide is in excess inside the blood, and it will stimulate specific higher centers in the medulla oblongata in the brain stem, and that is called stimulation of the breathing center, and that leads to contraction process of the diaphragm and the intercostal muscles. Expiration or exhalation, it happens when the diaphragm getting relaxed, so it will be back to its normal place up in the thorax, decreasing the longitudinal axis of the thoracic cavity. When the intercostal muscles getting relaxed, so they're getting back into normal place, the ribs back into normal place, decrease the transverse diameter of the thoracic cavity, increasing the pressure inside the lung, so air will getting out of the thoracic cavity, and this is called expiration. To measure the lung function, there is a specific machine that is called the spirometer, which is used to measure the amount of air getting in and out of the lung, and that is called the tidal volume of the lung. The breathing process is under the control of the nervous system through the center that is located in the medulla oblongata, and it is stimulated by excessive production of carbon dioxide in the circulation. When carbon dioxide is high, stimulating the center of medulla oblongata, sending impulse to the diaphragm and intercostal muscles to contract and stimulate the process of inhalation. The process of gas exchange, following the general rule that gas diffuse from area of higher concentration to the area of the lower concentration. External respiration, which is the gas exchange between the alveolar sac and the capillaries, pulmonary capillaries at the lung tissue. The alveolar sac, containing the air that is high in oxygen compared to the air, the gases that is found in the capillaries, so the high oxygen diffuse from the alveolar sac into the blood stream in exchange of carbon dioxide, which is coming very high at the capillary site, diffused back to the alveolar sac, and that is called external respiration. Internal respiration, where the oxygen that is coming from the lung distributed to all tissues, very rich in oxygen. So oxygen will diffuse from the capillaries at the tissue site to the cellular part in exchange of carbon dioxide that is produced between the cells as a waste product back to the capillaries, and this process happens everywhere all over the body, and that is called internal respiration. Gas transport. How gases getting transport through the circulation. Oxygen usually bind to hemoglobin within the red blood cells, making oxyhemoglobin, and the blood is called oxygenated blood at this point. While carbon dioxide usually converted into bicarbonate and transported through the plasma part of the blood, not through the red blood cells. Let's talk about some disorder of the respiration. Disorder of respiration is divided into two parts. Disorder of the airway passage that transmits the air to the lung, and disorder in the gas exchange in the lung parenchyma itself. So the first one, that is disorder of the airway passage. Let us talk about bronchitis, which is inflammation of the bronchi and the bronchial tree associated with excessive production of phlegm on cough. And asthma, which is a contraction of the smooth muscles that is found in the bronchial and the bronchial tree. So that leads to wheezes and narrowing of the bronchioles and wheezes, and usually associated with inflammation as well. And these two conditions is associated with excessive cough excessive phlegm production, and could be treated based on the cause. For bronchitis, usually related to air pollen or smoking effect, and for asthma, usually it is an allergic reaction for any pollen, so it depends on the cause and how to be treated. For contraction of the smooth muscle and the wheezes, it could be treated by bronchodilator, which is relaxing the smooth muscles and helping the airway to getting widened and allowing the air easily to get in and out of the bronchial tree. Disorders associated with gas exchanges. There are several causes and several conditions. The most common one is pneumonia, associated with infection, either bacterial or viral infection, that leads to inflammation of the alveoli and excessive production of fluid. The alveolar sac will be filled with fluid, inflammatory reaction, excessive cells, and this will decrease and impair gas exchange that usually happen at the alveolar sac. This is a very common cause and one of the leading cause of death in the United States. Atelectasis, it's a disease affecting the alveolar sac. The sacs will be collapsed, and once it is collapsed, there is no air getting into the alveolar sac, and that will impair gas exchange. So this could be congenital disorders, which decrease the surfactant, the secretions that usually is produced at birth, and to help it to decrease the surface tension inside the alveoli and maintain the alveolar open all the time. When the surfactant is decreased, the alveolar wall will be getting collapsed and no air getting into the alveoli. Or it could be related to a complication post-surgical operation, so it will deflate the alveolar sacs, and in both conditions, either congenital or a complication of surgery, there is no gas exchange happen at the lung tissue. Emphysema. This condition happens with excessive smoking. So the effect of smoking and toxic products that leads to rupture of the alveolar wall. So instead of having multiple small alveolar sacs that is surrounded by excessive pulmonary capillaries and increase the surface area for gas exchange, with excessive smoking, the alveolar wall will be ruptured, ending up that have small number of large alveolar sacs, and that will decrease the surface area for gas exchange. So the gas exchange between at the lung tissue will be decreased, and this is one major effect of smoking. Since we have talked about smoking effect on the alveolar sac and gas exchange, we have talked about emphysema. There are other factors that will be associated with smoking. Smoking will decrease the ciliary function that is found in the trachea. So if any foreign substance getting into the trachea, the ciliary cells will not be functioning. That will increase the access of the foreign substance to get into the lung, increasing the effect of infection within the alveolar sacs, and this is one effect of smoking. Another effect is that the lung tissue itself will be changed into carcinogen through the carcinogen part of the smoking, so that will lead to lung cancer, and the lung tissue will be damaged by the carcinogenous cells. Always there is a relation between the heart pump and the lung. This is called pulmonary circulation. When the lung is getting diseased, that will lead diseases in the heart as well. So diseases of the lung usually associated with heart condition, diseases, enlargement of the heart, hypertrophy of the heart, the impaired function of the heart. So smoking, if it affects the lung, it will usually affect the heart pump as well, and that is called the cardiovascular diseases, in addition to the effect of smooth muscles on the arteries and arterioles, narrowing of the arterioles, that is lead to atherosclerosis. So smoking has a multiple hazard effect on several organs. We have focusing here on the lung tissue and its relation to the heart function.